Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Landmine Goes Click. Dare to step off.
Directed by Levan Bakhia, starring Sterling Knight, Spencer Locke, Dean Geyer, and Kote Tolordava. This movie's about a group of tourists who decide to go hiking. They're going up some mountains, and unfortunately, while trying to take a picture, one of them steps on a landmine, and they have to try and figure out how they're gonna get out of the situation. This is actually a recommendation from Deke over on our Patreon, our top donator actually. Thank you, Deke. This is a movie that I've never heard of, but I like one location movies. They're kind of cool because it relies on the characters themselves. This is like a what would you do situation.
This really is just all what would you do.
But we're not going to play the game with this one for some reason. What do we like?
Despite it being a one location film, the camera work was fantastic. There was a lot of long takes where the camera just focused on one character, and then instead of cutting to the next character, it stayed and just kind of panned across, and you felt the tension because it wasn't constant cutting.
Yeah, it made it feel a little bit more realistic because it's a lot of like back and forth between different characters. And with movies like this, in order to keep people engaged, you need to have like some reason other than the main plot. It's like, okay, yes, you're on a landmine, that's a problem. But then there's these subplots, which are the character interactions. So we have three people are our main characters, a recently engaged couple, and then there's the third wheel. The weird part is that the third wheel has actually slept with the fiance of his best friend. If that comes out when he's standing on a landmine, what's gonna happen? And so there's this building tension, aside from him blowing up in general, but there's this tension between the friendships and the relationships that are built here because it's obvious they're all friends. They're all really great friends.
A little too great, if you ask me.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
And the way that the film is paced is really nice because you have it set up into different little story arcs. Yes, our main character is stuck on a landmine, but the way the film plays out is we have the interaction with his friends, and then you have the locals coming in and interacting with them where they may or may not believe the situation that they're put in because it does seem a little far-fetched.
One local, he kicks around for a little too long, causes a little too much tension, knowing that the guy that's stuck on the landmine has to basically stay on the landmine so he can kind of play with them and torment because they're in a very vulnerable situation.
He must stay still, yes?
Yes, perfectly still.
You make all the job and she do nothing. You made perfect Georgian wife.
How far is this antagonist going to push these people and what are his true intentions? You can't tell if it's just like this difference in culture or if this guy's actually fucked up and he's trying to hurt these people.
I told you my friend can't move and you just threw a rock at him.
Yes, okay, but because I test if he's really a bomb, that you make no joke of me.
I was personally frustrated. It's like the good kind of frustration where like you're yelling at the TV because you want the characters to do something that they're not doing. It's just a very interesting film that has you going back and forth and keeps you interacting with it. And I just wanted to jump in there and like do something about it. So if a film makes you...
You get in there, John, and you grab a shovel and you start digging, okay? That's what you need to do.
If a film can present a situation that you want to be involved in, that you want to just like yell at, then it's doing a good job.
Yeah. And at first I was a little bit hesitant because I didn't think the acting was that strong.
I have to stand like this for 4 hours.
You must move away from Chris.
All right, listen, Debbie, don't lose time, okay? Go get help.
I wasn't completely invested at first, but it definitely gets better, so you kind of have to hang in there.
I do want to give credit to Sterling Knight, mainly because seeing him in this kind of role is different for me because I think I was one of the few people who watched Sunny with a Chance where he was like the main character in that show, which is like a Nickelodeon show, Disney show. I was just surprised to see him in like this style of movie. So I thought Sterling Knight did a great job in this film.
And Spencer Locke, our female lead, was excellent. She had to deal with a lot of shit in this film, both from like dealing with emotional issues between like, okay, trying to like keep a secret, like, yes, I banged both of you guys, and also trying to handle the local. And I think that her acting is what made us feel uncomfortable about a lot of this. And that ties back into the cinematography because There's not a ton of cuts going between different characters. Most of the interactions seem so natural. I don't really know what I would do in any of these situations.
Unless you're one character. You keep your foot on the ground and don't move.
Yes, if I was that guy, that's exactly what I would do. Now, what didn't we like? Something I kind of touched on is the acting, and I think that's where this movie might lose some people. Closer to the beginning, the acting isn't that great. It almost seems like too light or fluffy.
Don't worry about the wedding. I'm gonna get both of us there, okay? You're my best man. You understand?
Like, there are some pretty intense moments in this film, but closer to the beginning, it seems like, these guys don't know how to act, but they do.
Even though I mentioned how good the storytelling is, at the same time, the moments in this film were dragged on just a little too long. The film was very well paced, it just felt as though things dragged themselves out. And I felt that it could have just been trimmed up a little tighter.
I somewhat agree, and I think that a lot of people may feel the exact same way as John. I, however, did enjoy those aspects because things were kind of long to make the audience feel awkward and really hate certain things. It definitely gets repetitive, and so people might get frustrated, but I feel like that is the intent of the movie. But I don't think it's necessarily a knock on the movie, but I can see the issue. There are a couple loose ends as well. I mean, I feel this movie had a great finale, and we can't talk about any of it and can't show any clips from it, but there are also a couple loose ends that were never brought up again. I feel like there was a few things that could have been said about the whole setup of the movie. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Landmine Goes Click was actually a really fun time. I really enjoy one location movies, mainly because you kind of know the setup walking in, and it relies completely on the characters, their dialogue, and the micro subplots that exist throughout the film. I think they were all handled very well. It's one of those movies that makes you frustrated to watch, but you're interacting as like an audience member, like, are you serious? Come on. There's no way I'd do that, or would I? And then you start thinking back to yourself, how would you handle this exact situation? A movie that can provoke such emotion from the audience is commendable. The cinematography was excellent. The acting, well, a little bit rough towards the beginning. The acting towards the end is top notch. There are a couple situations where you're gonna say, that's kind of weird, that was a big jump, but take some things with a grain of salt and you will enjoy yourself. So I'm gonna give this 3.5 third wheels watching their friends fuck because those ignorant assholes decided not to shut their tent out of 5.
This film was a pleasant surprise. I went into it expecting that it was just gonna be a guy stuck on a mine, but by the end of it, I loved it. There's beautiful cinematography in this, though they do have some questionable transitions. This is a great film. It tells a fantastic story, and it utilizes the one location and the character interactions to get you invested, to get you involved in this film. You're gonna go on a roller coaster ride of emotions. The beginning does start off a little slow, and the pacing issues can feel like they're being dragged out, but it's all done with intentional purpose. I think this film took a really interesting concept and told a good story. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 3.5 puppy crawls out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if you want the opportunity to recommend a movie for us to review, definitely check out our Patreon rewards, link in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.